Hello, Kentucky. Hello, everyone. My name is Henry Lucas,
Hello, everybody. I'm Ryan Jones.
and this is By Any
Any
Means Podcast.
means podcast. Oh my goodness, good to see you, bro.
See you too. Good afternoon to you, brother.
Yes, indeed. Finally, one of y'all at least came back. Okay.
We appreciate you holding it down, and glad to be here too. You know, 2026, according to the Chinese astrology, is the year of the fire horse,
Okay.
and so energetically, it's about passion and momentum and riding that horse all the way through.
Yeah.
And we're not quite through the end of the first month, but I certainly know that I feel that momentum and I feel that pressure in my life, and I imagine that Sharita feels a bit of that too. So
Yeah. Most
good to be
definitely.
with you this afternoon.
Yes,
How you been?
indeed. I've been pretty good. Just staying, one, just finding ways, healthy ways to keep a smile on my face. There is a lot that's going on in the world, but we don't have to carry everything, and we don't have to take on, and we don't have to care about everything that's happening around us. And so I've been practicing that. And just keeping a smile on my own face, can be a beacon of light to somebody else who may not have a smile on theirs. So,
Yeah.
yes, indeed. And before we get too far, please make sure that you like and share, subscribe, tag somebody, tell them, hey, come and join us. You can search us on any and all social media platforms, and you can type in Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition, and you can find us there. You can also go to our website, www.kyhrc.org, and you can reach out for services. You can reach out to come and have us to come table at your event. You can schedule different things, get resources, Narcan, any type of harm reduction supplies. You can reach out to us, and we'll be glad to assist you. Um, we did have last week, Henry. We had our very first kit making party for 2026, and if I remember correctly, I think it was about 25 or so people that were there. So it was actually a great time, and we had some teenagers that came with their parents, and being able to talk to them about harm reduction and the supplies that we have, and so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, those are always fun. you
It is.
know, it's always fun in a lot of ways for me whenever I've been a part of those. I'm curious, this last kit making party, was there a partnership or another organization that helped host?
Yes, the LRCC, the Louisville Recovery Resource Center, they host us every other month on the third Thursday. I gotta look up to make sure I say it right. Every other month on the third Thursday, from 5:30 to 7. We will be over at LRCC is 1700 uh, South Fifth Street. And so definitely you'll see more flyers coming out for the next one. And so we definitely appreciate the community coming out and participating in this. This is definitely what it's meant to be for. So,
Yeah, this is what a democracy looks like.
yeah, yeah,
And it's a little bit of what we're sort of going to talk about today with our topic. Um, and it is in a time where we've been so disenfranchised and we've been so disconnected from our community, from
mhm,
our communities, right? From the community,
yeah,
all in our own way, especially, since the pandemic.
yeah,
When we look at harm reduction and we look at just the state of a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
happening right now in Kentucky and also throughout the United States is that it's going to take groups of people and it's going to take communities that share the same common vision and the same common goal to align
Yeah.
and create, the power that's necessary. So before we really get in, I think to today, I wanted to also check in. I'm working on a really cool project that I want to share about, but also
Mm-hmm.
some of our conversations before the call today. You
Yeah.
and something that you're getting ready to step into for the first time in this capacity with KYHRC.
Yeah.
So I really hear about that, and I want our audience to know too what's going on in your life.
On Sunday, I'll be flying out to Tampa, Florida. I'll be speaking actually and doing a workshop for the Florida Harm Reduction Coalition. And my topic that I feel it is necessary in this climate. But I'll be talking about transforming lived experience into leadership power. Just a couple of things that I'll be focusing on is identifying the lived experience, identifying it, grasping a hold of what that meant and all that it entailed. But then how to be able to do the work, the personal work, ahead of the leadership, because there has to be some personal things that has to be grasped, like mindset shifting, and even self-reflection that has to take place before you can be a leader. And then the personal cost that is spent if the work is not done. So you got people that are burning out quickly in this work, having emotional floodings and boundary deflation. Being able to understand that doing the work will help keep you from not to say that it's not going to happen and that it won't present itself, but being able to utilize wisdom and utilize good information to be able to keep from that, and also skill building and how to be able to allow the lived experience to identify what you may be able to do. So being a writer, an advocate, a presenter, and then understanding when you are ready to share your story. You don't have to tell everything. You are in control of how much you share, and that way it'll help keep us in a safe place to be able to continue to share, and then being able to understand that utilizing people experience tokenization, and so being able to understand that with the collective leadership of your organization, and then also your personal lived experience and the leadership where understanding that this is growing patterns to be able to, even if you don't stay at that particular organization or agency, that you can go somewhere else and utilize these skills, and utilize this same power. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
How much time you got?
I got an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's you got plenty of time to dive into some of those.
Yeah.
Out of all of that, and as you think about your the workshop,
Mhm.
which part are you really most excited or most happy about talking about?
Um, the personal cost and then the lived experience identity. The personal cost for me helped me to shape me into who I am today. And we share. I've shared my story before, and what it costs for me to be able to, like I said earlier, keep a smile on my face. One of those good costs is that I'm able to share now more than I was when I first got into recovery or got into harm reduction. Um, I wasn't really prone to to sharing because I really thought that this was going to be a short-lived trip here to Kentucky, but then now it has transformed into much more, and so much more though that that can be utilized for not just for myself but for somebody else too. Yeah.
Yeah, the cost. We
Hmm.
don't ever really think about the cost.
Yeah. And
You
we get
know,
so consumed with the work that we forget about the cost too.
yeah. Well, it makes me think like of like a bank, you know, and if there's a cost and we're sending, money out of this bank, like at some point we're going to
Hmm.
reach zero.
Yeah.
And if there's not, protection at some point,
But
the
yeah.
bank's going to be overdrawn, right? So there has to be just as many deposits as there
Hmm.
is, withdrawals from this bank to even just break even,
Hmm.
right? And so to put it in like a practical, real life scenario for our audience is we have to make deposits into ourselves
Yeah. Got to.
because there is such a big cost. There's long hours. There's
Hmm.
being subjected to vicarious secondary trauma.
Hmm.
We carry a lot of weight. There's not just dealing directly with our consumers or our participants, but it's also what's happening, politically, what's happening
Hmm.
social economically, what's uh, where we at with the weather. I mean, so much of the summer is making sure that we have enough water to give out when we go out into the streets.
Right.
So we have to make time for ourselves
Hmm.
in our own way. And we can call it self care, but
Hmm.
we have to make time or we will burn out. We will burn out. But maybe the worst thing than burning out is being able to function just enough.
Yeah.
I'm angry and I'm bitter and I'm resentful, and it all comes mostly from a place of love and it comes from a place of compassion, but we
Hmm.
also have to have those same compassionate and loving um, ways of dealing with ourselves.
Definitely. And it's like you said, as much as you pour, as much as we pour out, as much as we have to pour in. And so, being mindful of that helps us to stay in a healthy place, and keep us from losing our minds. It really does. And so, and as we take a segue, last week, we talked about how what the political climate feels like, talking about that, identifying that, and identifying is a big part in our daily lives, so that way we know how to be able to maneuver, how to move to the next. And so we talked about what harm reduction means in normal words, and how not to get wrecked by the news and social media, and how that is just going up and down, it's fluctuating. They could put out one thing, they'll put out one thing in, 1 minute, and then 2 minutes later now it's a whole nother different story now off of that one subject. How we can, we also mentioned about how we do not have to carry a care about every single thing that we see, being able to know when and where our boundaries are, and dealing also with dealing with people who have different opinions. There's so many things, and God forbid, let the comment section is never on our side. And so So dealing with people who have different opinions and thoughts, responses and actions to anything, it can be harmful. But if we understand that, okay, listen, you might think this way. Listen, how about you go do what you plan on doing or what you think might be right? I'll do this, and then we come back and we see what worked best. We also mentioned about how harm reduction means staying human, even in a messy system. And that messiness can go even into our families, our finances, our anything, any area, an aspect of our life. It can get messy, but how to stay human in that messy system or situation. We also gave out some healthy tips. So just realizing that politics is stressful. It really is. That's why I listen to it. I'll see the news flash go across my phone. I don't spend time on hours sitting and listening to CNN and whatever, any type of news channel. I really, really don't. But then also knowing that we are allowed to take breaks from it. So, watch it for a little moment. Go do something that's uplifting, and then if you choose to go back to it, go step back into it, but not too much of it, so that way it don't razzle us too far. And then caring imperfectly, we will never ever be able to really care for someone 100%. And so just doing what's the best and the most that you can do, the capacity that you have at that moment, to be able to protect our mental health.
Yeah.
And it's really, really necessary. Um, and so staying grounded, even in this political climate, is one of the things that, even with the uncertainty, and how already that we're just in the 22nd day, and there's been major whiplashes in this year and in this political climate. And so one of the things that I want to ask you, I did see, again, I told y'all, I catch it, the screen going across the news flash on my phone. And one of the things that I did see was the federal administration announces a $2 billion cut to substance use funding. Um, what's your thoughts on that? Because it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a fluke, and it's so. What you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I like your little your laugh.
Okay.
Yeah, I like your laugh. And so we just kind of gonna get right to it, get right
Yeah.
in it. Um, and I also want to say, part of my process. Um, I work with people in a lot of different capacities every day,
Hmm.
right? And you all have heard me say before about my family life, and have a lovely wife, been married 11 years,
Oh yes.
12 years in August, and I have three little kids. And I've not been on social media for the better part of 3-4 years.
Hmm.
Um, and on one hand, it's been really good, because I don't really have that whole let me keep up with the Joneses,
Right. It's
right?
hard to keep up. Okay.
Yeah, you are the Joneses.
Okay.
I don't have that comparison. I don't have I don't have those insecurities. Um, I, I learned that I can protect myself
Hmm.
from being subjected to harm,
Yeah.
right? If it's someone coming at me because of any part of who I am, if it's being exposed to ignorant, misinformed people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if it's to, limit my exposure to really any sort of news that comes through, these media avenues.
Mm-hmm.
What I've realized is how much peace I have
Yeah.
and how calm I am, and I have more time back in my life where I can choose to spend that time however I want to outside of just scrolling through my phone,
Yeah.
trying to catch up on some, misinformation.
Right.
So, but the downside of that is I've also have limited my exposure to um, news.
Right.
You know, because if I'm online and someone posts something or I read, something on my feed, like I can go to a resource that has um, the most accurate answer.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't know the information that's out there, then I'm not really sure what's going on. So I sort of say that, right, to preface that I'm not always the best at receiving information because I've limited my access to so much information.
Right.
That's one of the difficulties that I've found. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So and I'm okay with that, and I know where I stand with that, and life is good without social media.
Right.
Period. Right. But this $2 million, cut is it's really interesting, because that's a lot of money,
Yes.
you know. But the question is, what exactly is going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So if we zoom out, then if we zoom out, then we can see on a big level, okay, $2 billion is going to get cut. Okay, if I'm just reading that, I can make my assumptions. You know, well, good. Those addicts, they don't need that. That's a lot of
Yeah.
money for people that ain't getting better. You
Yeah.
know, or if I know something about something, to say, well, damn, now my family member may not be able to have access to their life saving medication that they receive from their doctor in a compliant way,
Mm-hmm.
every week or every month.
Mm-hmm.
But if we zoom in, right, and I'm going to zoom in on on KYHRC because
Mm-hmm.
we are and have been for over a decade. We're going on 12 years this year. We've provided a lot of harm reduction services throughout the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
And we've provided a lot of innovative services throughout the state of Kentucky
Mm-hmm.
for, I think it'll be 12 years this year. We were first involved with the first syringe exchange in Louisville, I think in 2015. We were in charge of launching the first mail based distribution during the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic. And that's actually still happening for us today. Like Ryan mentioned earlier, you can go on our website and order harm reduction supplies, and we'll discreetly and confidentially mail them to anywhere throughout the state of Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Our health and wellness lounge for it was about almost 2 years. We had a health and wellness lounge, which was a drop-in center for folks living in an underserved community, right next door to one of our partners. It was real. It was a real cool time to be a part of harm reduction in Louisville, and so that is really what's at risk. If we zoom in, that's what's at risk for being cut,
Yeah.
right? Because it's choosing mostly what the preference is.
Mm-hmm.
And if we zoom out a little bit, not on a federal level, but on a state level, we can look at our um, um, forget his name now. Um, it'll come to me.
Hmm.
Basically, he's the attorney general. Yeah, the attorney general is against syringe exchange programs.
Right.
So even prior to this $2 billion cut, unless the attorney general knew something that the general public didn't, which is probably unlikely. Going back to last year, the attorney general was wanting to make cuts for folks that were supporting syringe exchange program
Right.
because it's about preference. It's not about economics.
Right.
It's
Right.
about preference. Well, what guides our preference? Well, it's our judgments, it's our beliefs, it's our feelings, it's what we're indoctrinated into.
Hmm.
So if I see a syringe exchange as no good, if I see that syringe exchange as enabling someone to use, if I see a syringe exchange as a way of openly, endorsing criminal activity and drug consumption,
Hmm.
then these decisions are being made through the lens of stigma.
Yeah.
Stigma. And I want to pull up some more factual information because I want to be, accurate um, what I'm talking about. So just give me just a second. Um,
And even while you're looking for that, one of the other things that came about was when you were talking about, grassroots agencies and organizations. Another thing that came up in with that cut is staff layoffs, and then the sustainability. There really was a immediate panic nationwide, just from that alone.
yeah, and I wanted to talk about that in a second, really more of a on a zoom in level.
Mhm.
Because again, when we look at like syringe exchange and we look at the rationale behind cutting the syringe exchange, if we look at just data that's collected from the syringe exchange, we know that syringe exchanges, we know they reduce transmission of HIV, hepatitis C, other blood-borne infections, lowers the rates of injection-related
Mhm.
infections. It also helps us determine early outbreaks for
Yeah.
things like HIV, hepatitis. And we know that it prevents overdoses from happening. We know that it saves lives.
Right.
Um, we know that it's a way of engaging people in a
Yeah.
process, a change process. It's literally, meeting people where they're at. And the high turn just on numbers. Again, if we look at like the numbers, the economy of it, that it's often cited that $3 to $7 is saved on every $1 spent on syringe exchange programs.
Mm.
So I don't know what that if that translates to $2 billion getting cut. $2 billion. What we're really looking at on the back end,
Yeah.
it would mean $4 billion, $5 billion that this could potentially save, that much money to taxpayers, because the taxpayers, unfortunately, are the ones that end up carrying the brunt of all of these cuts. Right? Again, we're looking at a higher level. If we zoom in, and one of the things that we're challenged with at KYHRC that we talk about these last few weeks, and some of this has come out, is um, we don't know if we're going to have funding to pay for certain roles within the organization. And I don't say that to scare folks, but it's just a harsh reality. And
Right.
we may provide naloxone, and we may do um, these kit making parties, and we may have outreach, and we may have vendor tables and booths, and we're speaking, nationally, and we're speaking internationally, at these conferences. But none of that is possible without
Mm,
people,
yeah.
the people, right? And the first people to go are generally the ones that are closest to the people that we serve,
Right.
right? So, folks with lived experience, folks that are in recovery, folks that are trying to figure out life for themselves. And so, we're putting a population at risk,
Hmm.
right? For continued use, for return to use, other acting out behaviors. These are good people. These are people that we may even work alongside, right?
Definitely.
And without the people, the work can't happen.
Right.
So this is affecting taxpayers. This is affecting our frontline worker. This is affecting participants, people that are actively engaged in some part of the addictive process, people that are in, recovery,
Hmm.
because they're coming for harm reduction, is what they're doing.
Right.
They don't necessarily care about all the fraud and all the negligence that's happening inside the addiction treatment space. And I'll just keep it in the state of Kentucky.
Hmm.
You know, they're not ready to look at that and how the treatment model that we've been, the same treatment model that we've been operating on for the last, 30 years, that's not working. We're not ready to look at that.
Right.
We're not ready to look at ibogaine and psilocybin and some of these other medications or psychedelics that have potential to help people, you know, heal
Right.
and to eliminate withdrawal and to eliminate craving. And there's a lot of good grassroots work happening. There's a lot of folks all throughout the state and all throughout the country that are finding their own way to do it.
Yeah.
Because if you think about one of the things about harm reduction and the history of harm reduction is we have always found a way
Hmm.
and we have always been able to pivot and to move lightly.
Yeah.
The work will continue underground even if the outfront work is being squashed because it's needed, it's necessary, and it's life saving. So the work will continue. It just may not be out on the corner at a booth handing out naloxone, but the work will continue. But the problem with that is without regulation, without governance, without oversight, there is the possibility of harm happening even within an underground harm reduction framework.
I even have heard, and I'm pretty sure that I probably have voiced it as well too. How can harm reduction be harmful? And so even harm reduction for systems, expanding harm reduction even beyond just individuals, how organizations respond to stress, how leaders communicate uncertainty, and how systems avoid panic driven decisions. Because, listen, to be honest, as I mentioned earlier, that even with the big announcements and the fast reversals and the policy headlines and the constant recalibration, if we are waiting for certainty to feel steady, then we'll be waiting a long time. We will be waiting a long time, and so some of the risk that happen is overreacting causes harm. my mama and my mother and my siblings, they would tell me that I overreact to certain things, and I would go above and beyond. I'm living in a household with three Tauruses, so yes, overreacting was definitely something that took place. But and for it to look in harm reduction, overreacting can be harmful not just to the individual itself, but to everyone around, because now there's some things that are taking place or that may be said or done or responded to that if we didn't respond so quickly and go so far, and but then also freezing in a messy situation can be harmful as well too, but then panicking can be even more so. It's like, how do you know how to respond to what, when, how long, how far do I need to take this, and so um with harm reduction, you what reduces long-term damage, even if things change again tomorrow? What reduces is my question to you.
Yeah, that's a good, that's a good question. And there are already people that have been laid off
Yeah,
throughout the country. There already been services that that have stopped.
abruptly at that.
There are supplies that are already dried up.
Hmm.
Um, we have distributed I don't know how many millions of naloxone
Hmm.
um, since 20, 20
25, 15,
2014.
14. Yeah.
Yeah, 2014. And the last count that I have is that even our access to naloxone is it's drying up and is being increasingly difficult to access.
Hmm.
Right, and so this budget cut, which could even be reinstated through Democrats and Republicans, coming together and sharing the science and sharing their passion. So all hopes, not necessarily lost,
Right.
but the budget cuts also gives the administration um, um, the opportunity to control their alignment and what they're aligning.
Hmm.
Because let's also, though, not pretend that fraud hasn't happened
Right.
or mismanagement of those funds haven't happened for big organizations, small organizations, mom and pop organizations. And let's not pretend that money hasn't been used, in the
Right.
right way, right? And so to control that also means to control the fate
Hmm.
of, of mental health and how we treat mental health and folks that use substances in the U.S. and in Kentucky and even in the communities that we're living in. And there's less there's less to go around,
Right.
which means that the quality or the access is
Hmm.
going to be much more limited, and so harm continues to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and so the best response sometimes is no response. I'm really unlikely to respond to you if you're belligerent about something.
Hmm.
I'm protecting mine. I'm
Yeah.
protecting my energy,
By any means.
by any means. So you won't get a response out of me. Now you might get a response out of somebody else, but if you're angry, now I'm angry, we're not really going to be able to get to some resolve,
Right.
right? So we can be passionate and we can even be angry,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we can be fierce, but to have a dialogue, we also have to make space, right? And so talking to folks whose viewpoints are different than mine
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that I'm going to change, but it may broaden my perspective.
Right.
And it may not change their perspective, but it may broaden their perspective. You know, if I have lived experience and I feel comfortable and I feel safe, disclosing that or sharing that. But that's also tricky because that can be weaponized.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the word that you used earlier. It can also be tokenized,
Yeah.
you know, where I'm becoming, some poster person for Narcan or syringe exchange or even for a program. It never really sat right with me when I would go to fundraising opportunities at organizations and you're there and they're providing some lunch or some breakfast or something and part of their process is they're going to put their client on stage.
Right.
And it's not all malicious, it's not all exploitive, but I think that we could really do a better job of being aware across the board in the harm reduction space.
And even with you saying that, and that's one of the things that that I will be touching on while I'm in Florida. We don't have to just be, we are survivors of it. Have the lived experience behind it, but that's not the whole story.
Mm-mm.
There were other factors, other things, good, bad, and indifferent, that took place on the in between and behind the scenes, that and utilizing the resources from agencies and programs and organizations, which have, again, if their funding is affected by that, and then now you won't have as many of the restorative and recovery stories that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so, so one of the things that I pulled out from what you're talking about is that, first of all, trust is the real infrastructure here. And so naming the exposure, so instability reveals under resourcing, and the safety nets are already fragile. So breaking and going even further into harming those people or those individuals or that collective of people. So harm reduction prepares us for uncertainty, but it doesn't pretend it won't happen.
Right.
And so, and even with segueing, um, I heard you saying that being able to um, stay tactful, stay in place and in posture, and so staying grounded when ground keeps on moving.
Yeah.
And so what comes what comes up in my head, how you see, like over, in the Netherlands and places that are really cold, and you seeing someone standing out. But then next thing you know, that ice or what they thought was snow that they were standing on, now it's starting to float away because now there's been a breach, there's been a break, there's been a crack in the infrastructure now. And so, if we, as leaders, as people, workers, community, do not practice grounding, then there and when I say practice grounding, being able to not make permanent decisions during temporary chaos.
Yeah.
And being able to separate the announcements from enacted policies, focusing on what can be controlled this week or just in this moment.
Yeah. It's heavy. It's heavy because we care
Hmm.
and we care so much
Yeah.
and we carry so much of that
Hmm.
because none of us get here because it's like what a promising career to have.
Hmm.
You know, what a lovely population to work with,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sort of saying this tongue in cheek. Um, we're here because somehow we've been compelled or we've been drawn to or we've been pulled in to this work.
Yeah.
Mine happens to be my lived experience and
Yes.
growing up in that. Now
Same.
that, and I know we share that, right?
Mhm.
But for somebody else that's in the work, that may not be what their driver is,
Right.
right?
They went to
But
the
we're all
most
here.
prestigious school,
We're
and
all here. We care,
yeah.
right? Now I can get obsessive about the things that I care about too.
Hmm.
You know, don't scuff up my new shoes.
Please don't.
Every you stepped on my feet a couple times with them boots.
Okay.
But what ends up happening, right, is I'm wearing these shoes, and because I don't want them to get dirty, and shoes will get dirty,
Hmm.
most of my time during the day is I keep my head down,
Wow. Yeah.
right? Avoid, don't get the shoes dirty. So I'm trying to keep them as clean, as long as I can, because I care and I can get obsessive about even something like a shoe or a car or a bill or
Mm.
a job or a person. Or I'll be obsessive, and so when that happens, I'm not protected. I'm not safeguarded.
Hmm.
I'm open,
Yeah.
right? To be hurt or discouraged or disappointed or let down. And I'm not suggesting to be callous or cold or closed off,
Right.
but choosing in the moment, right? Because a few weeks ago, when this news dropped about these cuts, who you think called me?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Sharita called me.
Yes, you did.
Right? And I know when something local or national or in our state is shifting or changing, I know that she's going to call me.
Definitely.
And before I can even say hello, a lot of times she's already letting me know what's going on.
Right.
Right. And so I generally won't say anything and I'll just let her get it out.
Right.
I think that's important. Right. Because if I'm not allowed to do that, or if I don't have a safe place for me to be able to do that, it's going to come out on my kids, my wife,
Hmm.
on you.
That
If
emotional
he asks
flooding that we
me,
talk
if he asks me to buy him food one more time, okay, it's gonna come
about.
out. So
Hmm.
as leaders, right, as managers, as people in the space, we have to create space for ourselves and for the people that we work with
Yeah.
so that we can let these things out, right? Because what hides in the dark is always going to come to the light,
Like, yeah.
right? And I like a lot of the suggestions and the tips, that you said. It is important. Turn it off, walk away from it. It will be there when you come back. You can set it down. It will be there when it comes back. You don't have to talk about all the stuff that's going on all the time. You
Right.
can actually, it actually shows that you care more by keeping it contained,
Yeah.
right? By keeping it contained. So it's important because it is changing. Trust is the infrastructure, right? Like uncertainty is real. And
Yeah.
harm reduction is how do we navigate through the uncertainties? Because if I'm
Hmm.
just on this thing and I'm blasting off all the time, or and I'm always, giving somebody the business about it,
Right.
and I creating harm.
Yeah.
But am I even harming myself in that?
Yeah.
Am I making it's so I can get so caught up in this that I neglect time with my kids. Am I harming myself in that?
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy out there, right? It's unpredictable out there.
Yes.
It's even hostile and violent out there, right? And as a person, as an organization, as a team, I get to choose. We get to choose.
Yeah.
We're always making a choice. There's none of that. Well, there is no choice. No, there's always a choice.
Yeah.
And if I'm so reactive, if I'm so caught up like in the moment without taking the time to reflect and to look at the data and to check in with myself, right? I'm part of that chaos.
Hmm.
And so, like you said, what we really need during this time of uncertainties, we need folks, we need leaders, we need individuals, we need organizations to stay grounded,
Yeah.
right? To stay grounded. Like this too shall pass,
Yeah.
right? And again, I don't want to come off like some like this a toxic sort of positivity, right? But in my philosophy, we can't also deny things like love
Yeah.
and compassion and the greater good and the greater forces that are working. Now, I know for some folks, you're going to challenge that, right? Because that's not going to get work done. Maybe not, right? Maybe not. But it buys us time.
Yeah.
It allows us to approach things appropriately, right? Because if we're not organized, if we're not grounded, right, we won't get listened to.
No. We ain't gonna want to listen to nothing.
No, no,
Yeah.
right? It's on some level, on every level that we're talking about, all of the talk to supplying syringes, it's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game. What level of the game, am I playing in, and can I stay true to myself? Can I stay true to what the work, actually is? Because it doesn't matter $2 billion, and I mean that is important. That matters, but the work will continue. The work will go on. It would just look different because we have a history of being resourceful. We have a history of always finding a way to
Yeah.
help somebody in deep need.
And when we, how they say that it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to be able to be caring in this world. And then even with the climate that the world is in now, like you said earlier, all hope is not lost, and that goes across the board, because when people are passionate about something, they, like you just said, we're gonna find a way to make it work for everybody. And so being able to stand firm on that, um staying connected to the people, not just the policy fees, and some people will drag it out, and but stability doesn't come from certainty. It's okay that some things may happen and it may not be perfect. I know I'm one of those people. I'm a stickler. I want it to just how I imagine it is exactly how I want to see it happen. But that comes, though, it also comes to the fact of how much capacity do I have to see this out fully, and then what will happen, or how would I respond if it does not meet that standard or meet that height.
Yeah, yeah, that's all good points. I'd rather be foolish than not believe,
Yeah. Yeah. Most
right?
definitely.
our belief in
Mhm.
each other, our belief in the people that we get to work with,
Yeah,
our belief, in democracy,
yeah.
our belief in whatever that power
Hmm.
is important during uncertainty,
Yeah.
right? Being grounded during
Hmm.
times of uncertainty, instability, fast fluctuations.
Hmm.
Got to stay grounded, right?
Most
Got to
definitely.
stay connected to the people we love and the people that we care about, and staying connected to the people that love us and care about us, right? Staying open to information, accurate information,
Yeah.
updated information, right? Policy changes, service line changes,
Hmm.
who's doing what and who's no longer doing what as a result of just the challenging landscape that we're in, right?
Yeah.
We can be passionate and we can be angry. It's all valid, but it's going to be important that we don't lose ourselves
Yeah.
in this.
Definitely. Definitely. Um, and we've got about 3 minutes left. I want us to um, really, as we tie up this month, just talking about how the political climate and how it affects us normal people. And so this year may be for some, it may be unpredictable. It really may be. Harm reduction is the strategy, and staying human is the goal. We should not lose ourselves. We should not lose our minds in this in this chaos. Harm reduction isn't a reaction to chaos, but it is a strategy on how to move through it by any means. And listen, there are people that are willing to talk, listen. You can always utilize, hit us up on our social media, hit us up on our website, and even just to have a simple conversation, to be able to assist us in the uncertainty. And even this isn't all about politics. It's really about capacity, community, and staying human in a year where stability may be the exception, but it's not the norm.
Yeah,
Um, and even as we talk about the uncertainty, how it can cause harm, it really can. And so how harm reduction applies to the systems, not just individuals, but what it looks like to stay grounded when policies and funding and priorities shift without warning. I'm a person that really, I'm not big on making fast changes, but being flexible is in this time, in this climate, is going to allow us to keep from having those whiplashes.
yeah.
In last words you want to say?
Carl Jung has a quote: "Step into the chaos, and order will follow."
Hmm. Yeah, that's good.
So it was good being with you, my brother, and I
Yes,
will.
indeed.
I'll see you. I'll see you on the next trip.
Yes, indeed. Make
Good luck
sure.
in Florida, by the way,
Oh,
next week.
yes. Yes, indeed. I can't wait. They already said it was going to be a little bit warm weather, and I can't wait. Uh, but listen, we thank you all for
Yeah.
joining in to By Any Means. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe on our all social media platforms. Hit us up on our website, www.kyhrc.org. Listen, our next episode will be February the 5th. And listen, I hope that Sharita will be back this time. You be back this time, and I can take a break for a second and be in the background. But listen, it was great talking with you today, bro. I love you, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Love
And
you. Take
we
care,
will,
y'all.
Yes, indeed. We will see y'all next time by any means.